Okay, great. Well, let's get started. Thank you everybody for joining. We are here for an EV focused webinar about the community charging landscape. My name is Kelly Helfrich. I'm from the Resource Innovations team. And today we are co-presenting with our friends at Southern California Edison about the public EV charging installation and rebate program that we have going together. And my colleague Nikita is going to be sharing the slides for us today. And so Nikita, if you go to the next slide, we wanted to remind everybody the objectives for this webinar, what we'll be going through today. So after this webinar, we want everyone to come away with an understanding of how the public EV charging program can be managed and incentivized from a utility or local government perspective. Describe how the charger rebate programs work for your utility or local government and how various incentives can be distributed, and learn how SCE manages their program using the RI software platform. And so if you go to the next slide, we've just got one slide here about Q&A. We want to encourage people to use the chat function throughout the webinar, as well as the Q&A function to really submit your questions as we're going through the presentation. And then you can go in and upvote people's questions that you like, and we'll be able to make sure that those really popular questions get addressed definitely at the end. The overall setup of the webinar, we've got quick introductions that we'll all be doing, and we then will be getting into the presentation for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then at the end we'll have Q&A and make sure that we provide next steps and contact information if you want further information about our work together. So let's get into it. Just some quick introductions. My name is Kelly Helfrich. I am the Vice President of the Electric Vehicle Practice at Resource Innovations. And we have our practice structured as three core business verticals. The first is community electrification, the second is fleet electrification, and the third is EV grid optimization and planning. And so the work we're doing with SCE and everything we'll be talking about today really falls in our community electrification vertical. And earlier this year, I'm in the Detroit area, a town called Rochester. I'd previously been working on various electric vehicle programs for General Motors. You can see me there with my daughter Jane with our Bolt EV, and she actually turns 4 today, so it's a big day for her. Next to that picture is our dog Jill. You might hear her at some point throughout this webinar, but hopefully not. But essentially, I've been a big electric vehicle fan for about 10 years. I've been doing that full time for my career for the last 10 years, and have been an EV driver. I'm excited to talk all things electric. So I hope, at the end of this, when my email gets flashed up, I hope you guys take me up on that and reach out to talk about transportation electrification. So we're going to go through the rest of the introductions here, and thank you everyone for joining. We're going to do a who's who in the zoo here, and then we'll be kicking off the presentation. Go ahead, Suraj.
Thank you, Kelly, and good morning, everyone. My name is Suraj Sadanandan, and I'm with Southern California Edison. I am a senior advisor in the e-mobility, transportation, electrification area or department. I basically manage technology projects and enhancements for the team. I live in sunny Los Angeles in Southern California. My favorite activity is to go out with my family to the state and local beaches and parks. My favorite team is actually Golden State Warriors, and partly because I really like the coach, Coach Kerr. I used to follow him when he was in the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. And I currently drive a plug-in hybrid. My lease is about to expire, so I'm in the market for an all-electric vehicle, and the market is very exciting. So I'm very excited to be looking, buying a new electric vehicle. Nikita.
Yep. Hi everyone. Good morning. This is Nikita Kidari. I am an engagement manager in Resource Innovation. I'm working with RI from past 6 years. I stay in San Francisco. As you see, my little one, my little boy, who's 2 years old, and he loves dinosaurs. So I just grabbed that picture because that's the cutest one. My favorite sports is basketball. So big fan of Warrior team. And currently, I'm working with SC from 2020. So it's been almost 2 years that I'm working with EV programs. Um, and in future, I'm planning to buy an electric vehicle soon, which will help me to support the climate changes. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Nikita. Hi, everybody. I'm Ebi Dabiri. I oversee Resource Innovations, iEnergy Professional Services and Support Teams. iEnergy Professional Services is responsible for iEnergy SaaS products deployments and full cycle implementation. That also includes post-go live support and care services. I live in San Francisco, California, and that's my American Eskimo Kylo. I hope you find this webinar informative. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. And I didn't realize what big Warriors fans we have here. So next time they play the Detroit Pistons, we'll have to all get tickets and go. But thank you for going through those. We will now be kicking off the presentation portion, and please chat your questions throughout. I like to think about our iEnergy software as kind of the Salesforce system of public EV charging installs. So we're going to be talking about the public charging installation program we have with SCE and how our software powers that whole end-to-end system from the idea phase all the way through installation and incentive processing. So Suraj is going to take it from here. So let's get the show on the road.
Thanks a lot, Kelly. So if you have been following the news lately or even noticed the commercials, it seems like electric vehicles are everywhere. And that is true, backed up by quantitative data. There are now over 2 million EVs in the United States, and nearly 5.6 of all new car sales in the United States were electric in Q2 of 2022. But what's striking is that in our own very California, it's almost triple, with 17.7% of all new vehicle sales this year being zero emission vehicles. This is very encouraging to see. However, there is still a long way to go. And SCE's e-mobility transportation electrification team sees itself as a catalyst for change and plays a key role in advancing California's climate goal to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and become carbon neutral no later than 2045. Next slide, please. So over the next 5 years, SCE's TE programs will have directly contributed to the electrification of more than 550,000 vehicles through direct rebates and add more than 50,000 charging ports to Southern California, with about 50% of those in the underserved communities through investments of approximately $2 billion. So these are some of the programs and incentives that are currently there in Southern California Edison's e-mobility portfolio. Thank you. SCE launched Charge Ready, the largest light-duty electric vehicle infrastructure program for any electric utility in the US on July 12, 2021. This directly supports Pathway 2045, installing approximately 38,000 electric vehicle charging ports. The Charge Ready Light Duty focuses on equity with specific targets for multifamily properties, greater than 50% of those, and about 50% in the disadvantaged communities. This program has a lot of integrated lessons learned from past SCE pilots and programs to support scaling. And in July 2021, iEnergy, the back office solution, was also rolled out to support the Charge Ready Light Duty program. And we are planning new offerings in 2023 as well. So Successfully executing charge-ready programs require a seamless cross-functional partnership across SCE. And in SCE, we have primarily three main teams. We have the e-mobility team, we have the business customer division team, and we have the T&D, transportation electrification project management, or the construction PMO team. In the e-mobility space, we have operations support or program management office, excuse me, whose job is to make sure that the overall program management and operations is on track, and that provides program guidance to the supporting organizations. We also have business development partnerships team that engages externally with the non-residential customers and provides education, outreach, and customer support. We also have a strategy program development team that basically formulates new programs, surveys the market, and launches it to our customers. And we have also operations support team that basically includes data and financial reporting and analysis. In the business customer division, basically we have account managers, who are who works fielding questions from our customers. We have program advisors, account managers, and center of excellence. And finally, our T&D, transportation electrification project management team, is a full service project planning and management team that does the site planning, design, procurement, and construction. All of this is supported by other supporting organizations within the company, like regulatory, law, finance, IT, and corporate communications. Next, please. So some of the challenges prior to deploying the iEnergy back office system, the team really did not have an integrated customer enrollment portal and the back office system. And the data, when customers entered, let's say they submit an application, the data would flow back to to the back office system maybe a day later. So it was not in sync. We have also had issues with teams maintaining multiple spreadsheets to track the application and the project status. So if one of our executives asked us, how many projects are out there in the status, let's say site assessment, for instance, it was very challenging to figure that out, because we would have to manually merge data from multiple spreadsheets and do VLOOKUPs. There was no integration previously with the customer information system, which added a lot more manual work, and an analyst would have to basically fill out customer information for each application. Whereas once iEnergy was rolled out, all of that was automated. Program updates were challenging. There was no way to quickly add or modify a new, let's say, a field or a formula or a calculation. It was just way too challenging. There was no, capability to send email notifications and attach documents to internal and external stakeholders. We also have an approved product list, which basically shows all the equipments that are permitted to be used in the program. Now that product list is actually integrated with iEnergy, which means our customers can see all the qualifying vendors and qualifying equipment to use for their site. And finally, the system is also, we did not have any integration with identity governance and access management, which means we would need to spend a lot of manual work reconciling what roles are out there and how, what users are associated with those roles. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the efficiency gained was exponential when with the deployment of iEnergy, because now we have this integrated and centralized customer enrollment and back office capability with our customers, when customers apply to the interested programs. iEnergy is now our system of record to track, store, and manage the end-to-end project lifecycle. It provides an integrated platform for our internal and external users. We have the ability now to advance projects or loop back projects based on certain workflow logic or action-driven decision by an actor in the system. We can also manage and track project submissions, reservation review, site assessment, site selection. And once the project goes into construction mode, we can actually manage and track project design, project requirements, construction, installation, and finally the incentive site review and payment approval. So I'd like to now hand it over to Nikita Kedari, who is our technical lead, who helped us analyze and implement hundreds of business and technical requirements for TE, and who truly took the time to understand the customer and business needs and pain points, and was able to deliver an exceptional product. So I'd like to introduce the innovator, the magician, the wizard, Nikita Kedari.
Thank you so much, Suraj. So I'll be covering, in the following slide, I'll be covering how we received the SE's requirement and how we converted into iEnergy system by using the key features of iEnergy, and how iEnergy also helped SE to mitigate the challenges which was just explained by Suraj. So going to the next slide. Currently, I'll be covering all the modules which are used in iEnergy. And then also I'll be talking about which modules are used by SCTE. The center where you see the iEnergy program management, which we call as IPM, this I name it as a brain of iEnergy, because it stores significant configurations like the simple to complex workflow engines, forms, formulas, and notification, the multiple data fields which are stored and which also help into generating reports and analytics. Then there is also integration interface. The integration interface is the key phase of any project. With IEPM system, they are integration services which are enabled, such as user can export the data out of IEPM and import the data into IEPM. Such integration interface are called as the project bulk upload, which is PBUs. The PBUs are also used to do mass upload project through SFTP and update the closed projects through the project bulk or upload features. We also have the customer data. The customer data is mostly the integration which is used to integrate and bring in all the customer information like the bill account, the single and multi-site information is stored into the iEnergy, which is the back end of the system. There are other interfaces which you'll see on the right corner, which is the MMDB users, where iEnergy also helps and integrates with other major libraries or the storing of all the other equipments. We also integrate with the SAP system for the rebates and the payments. These are called all the interfaces, integration interfaces, but the key interfaces used by SE was the project bulk upload and customer data right now, but in the future, we will expand it to be used for the rebates and MMDB. As I am going to move now to the public user interface, this is the portal, customer portal, which is used for the customers to come in and enroll. SCE names it as a charge ready portal. The public user experience, this module is used by the external parties, that is the customer and the partners, which comes into the portal for submitting and viewing their applications. Currently, SE is using it to register customer data. So there is an upfront validation for the customer registration page. The upfront validation is a combination of the service account or the customer account and the zip code. This helps to minimize or avoid phishing because of the security reason. They can also create their own registration users and passwords to come in and view the application and submit the application. Currently, the single sign-on is not being implemented, but it is a future upcoming phase. We'll be also doing a single sign-on to the public user experience portal. Partners can also come in through the TraderLike Connect. They can also create the profile, fill in the information, submit the application. Once the application is submitted, SCE which is the program admin, reviews the information, validates the information, and approves the vendor so that they can start helping the customer or submit an application on behalf of the customer through the customer facing portal. And there is a single sign on which happens between the TradeAlike Connect and the public user interface. We also have one more module, which is the on-site. This is an online assessment tool where an inspector performs inspection at sites. They can also upload photos and generates report. The information is entered during the site visit, so which is very important, which helps the inspector and the customer to minimize the repetitive work of going back to the office and filling all the information. So we do have reports generated. So these are the modules in iEnergy. Mostly the gray out are the one currently where SE is not using it. So SE is currently not using the on-site and few of the integration. Coming to the key program requirements goals. In this slide and the next 3 slides, I'll be covering the SE's requirement phases. SE program requirement have some eligibility to enroll and participate in their programs. The applicants needs to be a non-residential and a multifamily SCE customer. They can be the owners. They can be a tenant who can be leasing, or they can manage or be this customer of record for the charging site. A, a, they also have to obtain the consents from the property owner if a tenant is filling up the application wherever it is wherever is applicable. There is a grant easement rights to SCE if it's applicable, because they do have an infrastructure phase for that. The grant easement rights is needed. The site should be in SCE service area. So this is all the requirements for any participant or applicant to apply for the programs. During the next phase, which is the deployment phase mostly talks about the minimum program requirements, which is in their programs. They have currently 3 programs, and in their programs, they have some minimum port requirements. So there is a program which is a new construction rebate. It do not have any port requirements. So even 1 port or 2 ports can be submitted. But the other programs, there are minimum requirements of 4 ports for L1 and L2 and 2 ports for DCFC chargers. They are also for the new construction rebate program. The charging equipment must be separately metered. The applicant also have to be enrolled into the TOU rates and the demand response program. Coming to the third block, which is the equipment. SE do maintain a approved product list, which is then qualified for the rebate. So they have to select from the approved product list to qualify for the rebate and keep the equipment operational for the 10 years. So these are the key requirements before any application is applying for the programs. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, I'll be talking about the Charge Ready 2 programs for light vehicles project scope. They have 3 programs, which is the Make Ready Expansion, Own and Operate, and New Construction. Make Ready Expansion and Own and Operate have a very similar requirement, but NCR has very different options. So the objective target customers for the Make Ready Expansion and Own and Operate are pretty similar, that they have to be commercial and multifamily properties. For the Own and Operate, it would be that the multifamily property has to be located in the TAC. Coming to the new construction, as the program name says, it is a new construction, but again, it has to be followed by the multifamily property. As these programs also have some offerings, the Make Ready Expansion has the offerings where they can cover the Make Ready infrastructure up to the EVSE stub outs and the EVSE rebate to help to offset the equipment and the installation cost. Own and operate, everything is managed and own and operate by SCE. So they do not have an offering for these programs. New construction has a flat rebate for the per port of the charging station and the infrastructure cost, which is 3,500. Coming to the program targets, uh, SE has a program targets, which is around 19,500 level 1 and level 2 ports and 200 DCFC ports. Um, they also have certain percentage for the DAC and the multifamily. Own and operate usually has 2,000 to 2,500 L1 and L2 ports, and new construction up to 15,000 L1 and L2 ports with 50% of the ports in DAC. So these are the kind of the initial requirements for each of the programs. Coming to the next slide, this slide is mostly talking about the 4 different programs and how iEnergy manages these 4 different programs into the system. But here I would also like to share more information about how we combine the workflow after analyzing the requirements of each programs and knowing the common measures between them. iEnergy system has a unique feature which helps to reduce the system changes, which helps to reduce the maintenance because we can combine the workflows into one if they have the common measures. So this also helps to reduce the updating multiple programs fields, formulas after going live. So this is pretty helpful. Um, so before I jump into the programs below, I would like to talk about these diagrams because this would be helpful to divide and understand how the programs are structured. Um, so the first part you see, which is a utility side infrastructure, this is mostly maintained and installed by SC T&D group, which is from the transformer to the meter. So this is named as an utility side infrastructure. The second part is the customer side infrastructure, where the laying of the conduits and wires, which is done from the paneling to the charging station. The second part can either be done by a customer or SCE. So it depends upon what option the customer is going to opt. Depending upon the second part, we do have 2 programs, which is the charging infrastructure and rebate SCE build and charging infrastructure and rebate customer build. So these 2 programs are pretty similar when it comes to infrastructure, but they do have a different offerings and infrastructure options. So for example, if you go to the charging infrastructure rebates, which is SCE build, where both the SCE install the SE side and also install the customer side. During this program, the offerings is only with the charging station. Coming to the next program, which is the charging infrastructure and rebate. In this, the customer is doing the customer side of infrastructure. So in that, the offerings becomes the EVSC rebates plus up to 80% of SE cost. I'm going to jump to the 4th one, which is the turnkey installation. This is mostly for the multifamily in TAC. In this, SE does the installation for both the infrastructure and the customer side. So there will be no rebates because SE completely owns and operates and manages the site. Coming to the new construction rebate, this is mostly for the multifamily and they have the flat rebate, so it's only for the charging station. After analyzing all this requirement and having into a tabular format, we made this 4 programs into 3 by combining charging infrastructure and turnkey into one because they do have the common infrastructure, which is very common, and then they jump directly without giving the payments. But in the SE build, we go through the payment route. So there is a skipping of few of the tasks for the turnkey installation. So by using the iEnergy system, SE was able to move down from the 4 programs to 3 programs in the iEnergy system. The maintenance and the network rebates, this is a small part to both the programs of make ready expansion, and these do give incentives to the customer. Let me move to the next slide. So in this slide, I'll be covering the SE's requirements, how they provided their requirements at the initial discussion phase. We see that the orange blocks are the mostly the one which is handled the task by the SCE, and the black boxes are mostly the customer touch points. SE had multiple touch points between the project life cycles. So filling up the application, sign the agreement, submit the proof of procurement, installation of the EV SE chargers for the SE build, and the customer build where the customer has to be in the system to submit all these information, where they can also move to the installation of EV phase. Once all the installation is completed, the E is where the rebates and the information is reviewed and is approved to go for the payments to the customers. So this was the initial requirement which SC had given, where we had to convert this into energy. The key here in this block diagram is mostly the different touch points. The main task is the signing of the agreement and the submitting of the proof of procurement during the certain duration, which was 45 days. So we took this requirement and then we converted into the iEnergy workflow, which currently shows these chevrons. So I'll be covering each block diagrams and explaining how SCE manages and we perform the task with multiple actors. There are multiple actors because they have three groups who takes care from the submission of the project to the construction phase, to doing the reservation, to doing the designing, and to doing the payments to the customer. So the blue chevrons, which are seen in this, are mostly the customer touch points. The initial stage is where a customer, a trade pro, can submit the application through the customer portal page, and the trade pro can come in through the TradeLike Connect. But with this, they had one more requirement where even the internal users, which is the SE admin, can help a customer to submit the project, because sometimes it happens the customers cannot submit a project. So they need some help. So that is the time there are three users who can create a project and submit it. During the project submission, there are multiple information which is entered, which gives more information about what the site is, who is the customer, what the project information is about, the numbers of ports, the max ports. These information would be helpful as the project advances in the project cycle. We can also, iEnergy also supports to upload site photos, um, with multiple site photos can be uploaded, and there are site diagrams which can also be uploaded in the project submission. Once the customer fills out all the mandatory information, they do submit the project to move it to the further cycle. There's an email notification which the customer receives once the project application is submitted, which gives the confirmation of the application number. The next stage is the reservation review. In the reservation review, this is mostly where SCE admins reviews all the information which is submitted by the customer. They also reviews whether it is a multifamily customer, in which it is in DAC located, because that's how the program categories were. If the enrollment of the customer is incorrect, they do send the application back to the customer and give the information to fill it up to the correct programs. So there is a loop back between the reservations review and moving back to the project submission. So all the validation is done in the reservation review. The project moves to the next phase, which is the account management support. This group is mostly the BCD group, who helps the customer, assists the customer during the complete project life cycle. They are also performing other tasks like viewing the site eligibility and site feasibility with the customer. Once the site is feasible, the application moves to the next major task, like the site assessment. In the site assessment, the TPM groups do the site visit, have some cost analysis done, creates the conceptual design. It is sent over to the next. It is sent over to the. Sorry, I just to the next chevron, which is the site selection, where the PM team, which is the e-mobility team, reviews the budget, sees if this project is good to go, gives the information to the group of TPM. The conceptual design is finally prepared, and then the conceptual design is moved to the customer's queue to approve it, where the customer can acknowledge the conceptual design, and then it is stored in the system. This helps, to reduce a lot of documentation work and a lot of, viewing whether the customer did approve or not. So we do have a customer touch point here. Once the customer accepts or reviews a conceptual design, the team, the SE admin team, starts preparing the agreement, where all these information which is carried is put into or embedded into the template of agreement to know which ports or which chargers are they installing and how many are they installing, and which site are they installing. Once that agreement is prepared, it is then queued up to the customer to accept it, which is the blue chevron. Once the customer accepts the proof of procurement, accepts the agreement, there's the second phase which starts, which is submitting the proof of procurement for EVSE. This has a duration of 45 days. Here we used a very cool feature in iEnergy, which is a timer which times their 45 days. Either the customer can do it in 45 days or they can extend it. But for extending it, they need to get the approval from the SE admins. So the SE admins can extend it or also can deny it. So there's a timer which helps the application to not to be stuck in the customer's queue, and it can still the project can keep on moving forward in SE admin queue if the customer is not taking any action. So the SE admin can also help the customer to understand if any changes has to be done. So the form timer is a really cool feature. Once the procurement or proof of procurement is done, SE admin then reserves the funds for this project, and then it moves to the next phase, which is the project design. During the project design, this is actually where everything of the construction starts. This is where the TPM has the major milestones of having the designing done, getting the design approved by the customer. They have to also have the third party engineering team who submits all the information. So there are major data which is saved on this form or on this task, which is mostly of the dates, when the base map is complete, when the FER is completed. So all these is carried in the project design phase. Once this is done and the customer accepts the design phase, again, it is done in the system. Customer do acknowledge it. It moves to the next phase, which is the project requirement construction, where they connect the other required documents, which is the conveyance, the easements, um, the construction work, which is the electrical panels, the laying of the conduits. All these major information is collected in the system, and the chargers is turned on where the meter is energized. Once the meter is energized, it moves to the customer queue again for installing the charger. And once the installation is done, there is this where the customer provides a lot of information about who will be the payee, how the payments would be done, whether it be ACH or direct deposit. They also have other uploads, which is the project invoice, other documentation which is needed for the review and to move forward with the site assessment and doing the payments. So this is like the whole workflow. And if I move forward, this is actually how it looks in iEnergy. It is one of the most complex workflow. You see a lot of loopbacks, a lot of notification. I know it's not that clear because it's a gigantic workflow, but if you see there are a lot of notifications, you see the arrows which heads backwards. So there are a lot of loopbacks. There's a lot of skipping of the form because we combine two programs together so we can skip the form and move directly as per the program requirement. So moving to the next slide, after completing all the workflows, the way we helped SCE for mitigating the challenge is the PUX portal, the customer portal, which is very intuitive enough because we can have help text, we can have embedded links, we can have them upload the documents, which helps the customer to give more information, and it also helps internally to get the right information from the customer. The second one is short turnaround time for the program updates. So as explained, iEnergy it can configure a lot of fields. It can also update the formulas. We can add sections to a live program which is in production. But we would always do a testing in the test environments and move these things around to the production environment. And the turnaround time is pretty low. Currently with SCE, we are still updating the production programs, and the time is pretty low. I would say currently I can just take an example where we merged certain three forms by bringing in the sections, and which was mostly achieved in 2 weeks time with testing and then moving it. So there were like three forms, we combined it to be one so that their work moves faster. So the turnaround time is less. We can update and upload 300 plus charging equipments into our major libraries. There's an integration with the SE customer data, which streamlines the enrollments and the validation, which is done while they're creating or registering on the customer portal. It's a ease of the reporting. Because of all the data which is stored in iEnergy, the reporting becomes easier. We can schedule reports. They can receive the reports in their inboxes. They do not have to come into the system. So the reporting also can be scheduled. We do have iReports, so we can have a customized reports. Email notification with the attachment to the internal and external users. So they are email template, which is HTML based. So they can be different images, attachments, which can also be sent to the external parties. For SE, they're using for the agreement and certain design. The TEPM group is using this feature. And then as they have a huge group, there are multiple users accessing, and so there are certain access to the application and the reviewer. So there's two actors also internally coming and updating their projects and their tasks, which makes them move quicker. I'm quickly going to jump into the customer portals and the way it looks. Currently, the users are registering on the portals where they do see the information, they get the information which is help to the customer of how they can enroll, what zip codes and email addresses. Once that is done, they can start coming into the system to view the application. We can also flash some information if it's needed on the portal. SE is also using one of the features for the continue as guest, because if a tenant is filling up the application and the owner wants to sign it but do not want to create an account, so he can come in as a guest, view the agreement, sign in, so where we can have the agreement between a tenant and the owner. So they are using this feature for the guest. Coming to creating a new application, once the new application has been created, they do see the application number, when it was being created, when was it updated, at what stage the project is at, what status it is at. And plus, we can also have this configuration of having any help text on the portal page. Plus, we can have the links which is embedded on the customer portal. Moving to the next slide, this is a very important and helpful feature because they have multiple sites, so they can duplicate the application. Once the application is duplicated, they do not have to fill up the same information again. They can just the application gets duplicated with the data gets copied, and they can just edit whatever is important for them to edit, and they can submit it as quicker. So this saves the customer's time of submitting multiple applications. Plus, a customer can delete the application if it's not working. We also delete the application by sending a warning email. If the customer is not acting for certain duration, the application can also get deleted. It all depends upon how the requirement is being given. So this is how we moved, and now I'll be handing over to Suraj to talk about the key to the success between RI and SCE from the past 2 years. Suraj?
Thank you, Nikita. Yes. Can you go to the next slide, please? Great. So some of the keys to success in developing and deploying iEnergy were making sure that we've had a good stakeholder analysis and early partnership with our internal stakeholders like IT and um, business customer division and our T&D PMO teams. So it was important for us to chart out the process flow, like as Nikita was showing in the earlier slides, all of the offerings and the programs that you see and that complex workflow, a lot of hours were spent, in terms of like workshops in really identifying who the stakeholders are and how are they going to be impacted. And since we were launching a brand new program, a one-of-a-kind program, it was important for us to get it right. We knew that things will always change once things go into production, but it was important for us to get that baseline set of requirements and get it signed off by the internal and external stakeholders. The second one, early planning and analysis in terms of identity governance and access management and customer information system integration. That was huge. That brought a lot of automation and efficiencies. However, engaging your IT organization is important, is key there. In terms of planning and in terms of getting the right resources, the funding, etc. Without this, I think without the IGAM and CIS integration, we would still be resorting to very manual work, which would have impacted our launch date and our performance. The third one, deploying this, we have deployed the solution. Part of this, a phase we actually implemented using Agile Scrum framework, which, as you know, will bring a lot of efficiencies as well. So we actually defined the sprints, we defined the velocity, and we delivered on those sprints. So in about 3 or 4 months, we were actually able to deploy about 250 user stories. Which is really great in terms of like a product that our vendors and our customers would love to use. So they were seeing incremental, quick wins and quick deliverables, which really brought delight to our customers. And finally, it's not only important to launch a system, but also it's important to maintain and think forward as to what could happen. What are the changes that may happen in 3 or 4 months down the line, and really planning ahead in terms of right sizing the maintenance, the iEnergy care package here. So it was important to make sure that we left enough room and enough resources available to make any enhancements or changes, knowing that this is a brand new system and our customers and internal users can ask for more features and more changes in the system. So it was important to get that right. So with that, this concludes our presentation, and Kelly will be moderating the Q&A session. Kelly?
Great. Yes, thank you, Suraj and Nikita. I loved what you said at the beginning, Suraj, about the magic and the wizardry that goes into this system, because at the end of it, the important piece is that we have available and accessible charging stations to maximize the EV ecosystem. And there's so much work and energy and effort that has to go on behind the scenes to keep those installations organized and structured. And so it was great to hear your take on how you make that magic happen. So thank you. We've got a few questions that have come in throughout the presentation, but we've got about 11 minutes left here. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A part. I'm going to go in order here from what was put in. So the first one is, how many applications does SCE process each year, and how are you expecting this number to change over time?
Yes, so I can take that. So since the program was recently launched, it's hard to give an exact figure, but however, having said that, we could say in the thousands, and that number is only going to scale up, and because as we are exponentially scaling the program, and this number may change over time depending on new programs that may get approved as well.
Okay, great. And Nikita, if you want to just go to the final slide, that we can have that one up as we're going through the Q&A. I think that would be great. So yeah, we'll go through the next few questions here. The next one is for both of you, I guess, and also Ebby, feel free to chime in. How much customization of iEnergy was required? Is it possible to revise the workflows without reprogramming?
I can take this. So basically, SCET did not have a lot of customization because we did use the existing features with them. So the way the requirement came in, we implemented with the existing features what iEnergy has. And regarding the workflow cannot be, you cannot, once it is deployed, we can have the versioning done if it has a massive change in the workflow. But if it's a minor change or making the fields or adding section which doesn't require a workflow deployment, we can do that also. So currently with SC, we are doing that.
Okay, great. The next question is, what level of iEnergy configuration work is required to set up a program workflow to this degree of complexity?
I can also take this. So we started this project in 2020 August. I clearly remember the date because I had my little one who was exactly 1 month old. So we started during that time, and he's 2 years. So that is, this project has been for 2 years. But we completed all the work with the UAT testing, with the performance testing, because there were heavy programs done. So we had a performance round, also performance testing, where there were around, I don't remember, but around 200 users coming, which was an automation done with the IT team. And we did pass that test. So everything was being completed and we launched it in July. So I would say from August to Feb, we had the programs built. Then we started the UAT, the performance testing went in, and then we were launched in July 2021.
Okay, great, thank you. And we've got 2 questions left here. And this one will go to Suraj. So first, accolade, good work modeling SCE's processes. In your opinion, how applicable is this to other utility companies? And how do you think about, are SCE's requirements unique to SCE?
Great question. Well, one thing I can say is that since SCE was one of the pioneers in this space, definitely I know that other utilities and other industries are modeling their programs based off of SCE's best practices and results that we have seen. It really depends on the utility and the commission for that for that region and how they want to file the program, and it really depends on how many customers they want to serve, what are the unique set of requirements for that region or that particular customer base. But I would say, if you were to just ask my personal opinion, about 50 to 60% of SCE's requirements would probably be applicable to other entities as well.
Okay, thank you. The question is, I'm curious how closely this workflow / set of business processes are integrated with distribution system planning.
Well, yeah, I can take that as well. So I'll be honest with you, with my limited knowledge in this T&D distribution space, but I do know that our T&D team, who helps us with the construction, so they do work closely with the distribution planning team and understand the load growth, understand what our customers' needs are, and they do service upgrades and plan for 5-10 years in the future. So SE has a very prolific, a very comprehensive system planning, grid system planning. So they work very closely hand in hand, TE team and the distribution team.
Great, thank you. Okay, so it looks like we've got a couple more questions that came in through the chat. So let me open that up real quick and we'll get those addressed, and then we will wrap up here. Where is the chat here? Here we go. Okay, so what is SCE's conversion ratio from customer application submission to activation? And if we don't have the exact numbers handy, we can always follow up with everyone afterward.
Okay, gotcha. I was trying to understand the question. Yeah, I don't have the exact ratio on me right now. But this is the customer application submission to activation. So, you know, it really there are customers who qualify for the program, and some do drop off from the you know, queue based on certain set of qualifications. I don't have the exact number on me, but it's not that high. If our customer, you know, we do a great job at marketing our program, so customers really know what they are coming in, you know, into while applying, so they know the requirements. So usually it's not that high.
Okay, thank you. This one should be a quick hitter. Are level 1 networked smart outlets eligible for installation?
Sorry, that's something that I would need to check back. No,
Okay.
they're not. Actually, sorry, I just realized. No, they're not. Level 1 is
Okay.
not qualified for the program. Sorry.
Okay, I think that's pretty typical too, that I've seen from other utility programs. The focus largely has been on level 2, and then second place would be DC fast charging. So less focus on level 1, although that is a great, so easy solution for certain charging opportunities for sure. I charged at level 1 for the first 4 years of my EV ownership. So I definitely see the value of that. Okay, we've got time for one last question. And it is, can you expand on the implementation and maturity of the demand response of the EV charging stations? Are they participating in demand response or any type of
Yes.
grid
Yes, as part of the
program?
program requirements, our customers are required to enroll in a demand response program.
Okay, great. So they are all connected charging stations that could participate if needed in DR.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Well, we have just a minute or so left here, so I wanted to take the time to say thank you to Suraj, Nikita, Abby for all the work you've done to put this together and for going through the program and the presentation. We have our contact information up here. If anyone wants to get a hold of us to schedule a demo or to address any further questions you may have about iEnergy and the work we do with SCE and others. And I thank everyone for joining. I wish everyone a great rest of your day and hope to hear from you soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.